Welcome to the Armenian News Network, Groong, Week in Review for November 17, 2024. This show was recorded on Monday, November 18, and today we're talking with Tevan Poghosyan, President of the International Center for Human Development. But first, just a few requests. Please like, share, and comment on our content in order to give us feedback and help increase the number of people who can find our content. And please follow the COP29 hashtag on social media to comment on the fact that Baku is holding Armenian hostages while attempting to greenwash its reputation. As of the recording date, it has been more than 426 days since the military political leadership of Artsakh has been taken hostage by the regime in Azerbaijan. Bako Sahakyan, Arkady Hukasyan, Ruben Vartanyan, Arshavir Gharamanyan, David Ishkhanyan, and others need you to keep them in your memories and fight for their freedom every day. Ask yourself what you have done today to help them come back sooner. Unfortunately, their torment and the torment of other Armenian POWs and hostages continues to be met with widespread indifference by global governments, including, unfortunately, the regime in Yerevan as well. Okay, on with the show. Ողջույն Tevan.
Hello, Tevan. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hello again. Thank you for the invitation.
Great to have you. Tevan, Pashinyan severely ramped up his criticism of the Declaration of Independence by saying the document is about Armenia's non-existence. Recently, his hand-picked constitutional court issued a decision that he was hoping to show to Aliyev that the Declaration of Independence doesn't carry legal force because it's not part of the text of the constitution. But Aliyev rejected the decision and has continued insisting on his demand that Pashinyan take the constitutional changes to a national referendum. We have heard Pashinyan criticize the document before, but this week's attacks bordered on hate, at least in my opinion. What do you attribute this past week's attacks on Armenia's founding documents?
The same as all previous one. Demand from Aliyev, and that's all. He is starting to understand that his time is getting shorter. Aliyev kind of a willingness to tolerate some while or keep up some while with this is coming to the end, and because he has been always fulfilling Aliyev's wishes, Aliyev is pressing him, and this is another pressing on him. That's why he's becoming much more nervous, as understanding that nothing else would be remaining after that. And he would be the one who kind of a destroying certificate of birth. Imagine the baby was born, there is a certificate. Doesn't matter what that baby will grow up, what kind of a professional will become, what kind of a life. Certificate is a certificate, it's a fact of birth. That's all. That's why in reality, Declaration of Independence is not the problem of this document. The problem is that the lost government would be bringing another lost, and he perfectly understanding that on historical acceptance, it would be always treated as another lost from him. And there is no guarantee for signing any document. That's all. Very simple. Demand of Aliyev, nothing else.
Well, COP29 is in Baku from November 11 to 22, so there are 4 more days left. As usual, there have been all types of statements from Pashinyan circles, from Alen Simonian saying that he's against attending, to Mirzoyan saying that nobody from Armenia has registered to attend, to Deputy Foreign Minister Vahan Gostanyan saying that they're not going to rule out attendance. What is the signal that Pashinyan is waiting for to run to Baku?
I think that it wasn't been any more secret that a few months is already, in a previous time, there was already some hope, or international community guys has been saying that, guys, let's initiate the process of at least returning some people under the siege from Baku, prisoners of war. But since Aliyev is so strong, feeling that he's not going to leave anyone, and that's why they not going to kind of go and present it, because it will be zero result. Even if on the last day, Aliyev, for example, will say that, okay, not the Karabakh leadership, maybe also few will keep, but some 10 or 15 kind of guys he would give on the last day, it would be for him a guarantee that the Armenian government would be behaving them properly, but it would be already late for them to go, and that's why I think it's another failure, another loss. That's all. They've been always hoping that this event would play something serious for them to present, or maybe some signature would be there, and that's why they can go. But because Aliyev is playing much clever game for its own interest, they're losing again, and that this is another lost on them. It's like Armenia agreed for COP to take place in Azerbaijan for nothing.
Tevan, many European leaders have shunned COP29, and international climate activists, even like Greta Thunberg, have not only boycotted, but she has also come to Armenia and also loudly blasted COP29 in Azerbaijan. Meanwhile, there are some interesting people attending. International finance expert Jeffrey Sachs, a high-profile UN official, was in Baku, then in Yerevan. Also, but what was surprising was that just yesterday, a co-chair of the Armenian caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives, Frank Pallone, is there. Now, Pallone, there was video of Pallone being accosted by angry mobs, and that was entirely expected because he has been vilified in Azeri media, but Pallone decided to go. And also, Pallone has an A+ grade by the ANCA for his pro-Armenian politics. But ANCA is running a campaign to boycott COP29 while Pallone is attending COP29. Oh, so this is very confusing. And my speculation at this point is that there might be some track two diplomacy going on. But I wanted to ask, is there evidence of track two diplomacy to get Azerbaijan to sign some agreement with Armenia before Biden leaves office? What are your thoughts?
I do believe, as I have already said, that Aliyev is playing a game much clever. He would be playing to the way for not displeasing Trump. That's why if he's needed now, he would be kind of a talking, presenting new demands, accepting Pallone, who has been always criticized, who have been many years in a blacklist in the Azerbaijan as U.S. congressman who has been visiting Artsakh Republic and so on. But now he can accept them. He would meet them, greet them, I don't know, smile, something like this. Again, I'm saying that maybe this was agreement that if few of them would come, maybe one or two prisoners of war would be released and returned. But overall, I don't believe that Azerbaijan is going, or Aliyev is going to sign anything, even after the change of constitution. And the change of constitution, you perfectly understand that it's long-term process and it's not one-day issue. That's why I think it's much more another game playing from Azerbaijan, similar to the way how has been telling to all Europeans that if you would make Pashinyan accept that Karabakh belongs to Azerbaijan, I would come and would sign a peace deal on your territory or on your account. But as you see, immediately after the Prague, he always skipped any European meetings for the sake of not signing and playing the game in another part. Aliyev, I don't think so that he would go to sign anything. That's why I think even anything that is going on now in Armenia, it's also part of it, as this ununderstandable losses towards Aliyev demands, and Armenian leadership now is doing stupid steps, try to please Aliyev somehow with the hope that he would put his signature under some kind of a paper. But I don't believe that it would take place now. Because again, first of all, Aliyev links with Trump are good to the level for if something would be American, then he would give to the future administration, not to this one. But I don't think so that Aliyev even would go for that, because he perfectly understands that he still has a Russian pressure, and that's why.
So you think he would never throw Putin under the bus, even, if, let's say, he
Yes,
got everything he
definitely.
wanted?
Yes, he would be always trying to please to secure him. He's much more professional on the international relationship, and he's playing that games to the level that he killed the people. He captured and occupied the foreign languages. No sanctions against Aliyev. Again, just a nice comparison. Lukashenko didn't done half what Aliyev done, but he's under the sanctions, and Aliyev is free man, even a well-received president, strategic partner for Russia and for US, for Russia and for EU, for Iran and Turkey, for Israel and Turkey. See, like the guy's doing his stuff. He's our enemy, but we need to accept the truth. I think sometimes we've been always trying to be afraid to accept the truth. But his years in office make him much clever to play than on Armenian side. That's why, yes. Who is the guys from US today's administration for Aliyev anymore? He perfectly knows that he need to take the time for till the January 18, and after that everything would be played with. And if he need to please someone, he would be pleasing them, because he perfectly knows that if he will now give the all credits to Democrats, Trump would be always remembered. And let me make a small comparison. Do you remember in 2014 there was a Kazan 13 Kazan meeting? Medvedev has been trying to make Serge Sargsyan and Aliyev to sign some treaty. Everyone has been considering that deal is done. I remember that President Obama at that time called both leaders. I remember that Sarkozy, who was a president of another co-chair country, France, sent them a letter. And Medvedev was personally there. But the same way, Aliyev entering the room and saying that, guys, mine are small editings. But that editings has been more than 10, and it's changed the document in a way that all discussions have stopped on the place. Why? Because everyone has been knowing that next year the president will be Putin. Now, if there is already, they know that it's next president there, why he need to take? Aliyev took the whole burden of failing Kazan on its shoulders, but see, he make a deal with Putin, and finally he has been in a very support of Aliyev in 2020 and after that.
So your stance on the signing is clear, but the U.S. embassy in Baku, not Yerevan, but Baku, recently tweeted that Armenia and Azerbaijan are working together on quote integrated water management, and we wanted to know why is this happening now? I mean, I understand there is a need for cooperation.
I don't think so that it's happening now, really, because I remember that first time Azerbaijani demand on that there should be a joint water resource management used in the region has been 2021 or 2022. If I'm not mistaken, even on one of our few previous discussions, there was this point when I've even said that when Aliyev is or Azerbaijani side is stating like this is about Sevan. And I think it's there. Now, why your US ambassador telling that in Baku? Because maybe he knows much more details, and he perfectly trying to show that see down there are some positive elements over which US is trying to mediate, help, or do something. U.S. ambassador in Armenia didn't talking about that because perfectly understanding that the Armenian government even not risky to pronounce that such discussions are keeping secret. The same way as Giran's, the same way as all other demands, the same way as anything, where everything learning from Baku or Ankara, be it pronounced by advisors of Aliyev, his staff members, or foreign ambassadors from Baku. This is already few years policy that took in place, and unfortunately, Armenian nation didn't take any experience or didn't learning on any of these mistakes. We every day forgetting what's even happened yesterday or behaving like this. That's why we all forget that, guys, the Azerbaijani demand has been already a few years on the table and pronounced by them.
Tevan, let's turn to some domestic developments. In 2021, Samvel Balasanyan's Balasanyan bloc won the municipal elections in Gyumri. Of course, anytime a party other than civil contract wins any elections, there are legal charges brought against the winners, illegal imprisonments of leading candidates, and essentially a ruling party crony is eventually appointed to take over the city because the elected leaders are unable to run the city because they are in prison. So this time was no different. The Balasanyan bloc eventually reached a power-sharing agreement with civil contract later in 2021. But in the past year, a flurry of corruption charges against them have led to paralysis and recent resignations. Right now, we're in the phase of seeing who will take over the mayorship and the city council in Gyumri. So that's like the 50,000-foot view. Do these charges against Balasanyan bloc have merit? I'm sort of struggling to understand if this is a pure political struggle going on or if there's real basis for corruption.
See, I would say that it's a real struggle for the power who would take the control in the city. But do you think that any wealthy or guy who exists in Armenia wouldn't be having anything ever committed illegally? Let's not forget Balasanyan's kind of origin. Which parties has been coming? Artur Baghdasaryan, Oyeg, and so many stuff. He is a owner of the big Gyumri beer factory company and so on. And that's why definitely there would be something with the taxing and everything. Definitely there would be some links with the relatives, friends, and something like this. Yeah, do you think that today's civil contract mayors or even head of villagers, tomorrow the police will go and correctly check, wouldn't find thousands of the problems? That's why, see, like even all Armenian media is full of corrupted situations. That's why when you're saying that what is this case, it's a political case. But how it's presented to them, definitely about doing something illegal. Corruption, money, I don't know, something. Just today, if I'm not mistaken, the head of Parakar, who is representing civil contracts, resigned because 2 days ago, because of some money issues, he went with his friend to check something, and there have been shooting, and there have been wounded people, and something like that. Now, is it his resignation today? Is it political or not related to the criminal case or something like this?
It's very difficult to understand from my vantage point.
I think everything is political now. Just the issue is with what kind of a source it would be presented to the public. That's why I think the main issues with Balasanyan because of his links, people know him and all the other things. He has been always much easy on election winning, but and civil contract is not in a position to have overcome something like this. Again, using a lot of violations with the whole legal system of the local government. Its Gyumri case is not the first case. Yerevan, how it can be only 9% votes of the city making a one mayor. Many other cases, being Vartenis, being same Parakar. Parakar leadership was with this newly party of Manet Handilan and Mesrop. In all the places, civil contract is creating some various interesting issues. The same with one answer. That's why it's this political part. But how to put the dirt on Balasanyan? Because they cannot go that he didn't have majority. The whole issue is let's find something on the corruption side, on illegal side. Now, if you're taking the statistics, how many people who have been arrested and something like this, and later on courts prove that it has been these people are clean and didn't commit any illegal stuff. This could
probably
be
close to 100%.
This could be the case that, guys, let's use the corruption or the illegal situation. Later on, when we have a power in the city, courts will rule out that Balasanyan was clean, nothing has been illegally committed, but it's already done. They have a power in the city.
It's just amazing how in your face and this is, because when Balasanyan first was cooperating with civil contract, his son, one of his sons, was appointed as ambassador to Iraq. And then 40 days into his ambassadorship, the son was called back. As soon as Balasanyan, for whatever reason, stopped cooperating, or Pashinyan didn't like what Balasanyan was doing, his son was called back. The other son, there is now a criminal case. I believe the other son is now under arrest, or he was. So I'm just amazed that Armenia is still being touted as a democracy.
It's like those appointments are held hostage.
Let's be honest. By whom is treated as democracy?
By the people who have a reputation for using those terminologies.
Okay, they prove it with Ukraine case, with Armenian case, with Karabakh war case, with what's going on in the Middle East, with all the other many places, that it's just
a game. It's a show.
Game. It's a political. There is another much better word, but it's not for the air pronunciation. But hypocrisy of international community, I think, should be already understood it. Let's not. There is no any country in the world who would say that I'm fighting for the democracy. It's finished. It could be nice speech, but never on the practice. That's why, you guys, even see Georgian leadership make this example that the way how our one neighbor country treated meetings, people, beaten them, shoot at them, and done something like this, but U.S. ambassador went and said that it's democracy. And we in Tbilisi didn't beat, didn't shoot, didn't done anything. And the same U.S. has been calling us that we are not anymore democratic because we're defending our interests. And U.S. didn't like it.
So, yeah. Tevan, there are thousands of people who are not getting paid in Gyumri because of these municipal paralysis going on. What is the right outcome here for the people of Gyumri?
First of all, I think scenarios that civil contract is trying to do. Let's take it. If Balasanyan coalition will not give up and will not start to serve to the civil contract, we will turn it to the problematic issues and call for new election. And with the call of new election, there's a hope. But let me come up with another point. Do you remember how many months Vanadzor didn't have mayor?
Months or years?
Years. You can just say more than 24 months. Who didn't properly pay. No project has been endorsed for 2 years. It has been always a problematic situation. Why you are amazed at this? Do you think that people in the government are caring about what's going on in Gyumri with the common people? No. They're just much more interested. If there's need for a few months more, we will take a few months more until the power would be in our hands. Because Pashinyan is getting or trying to go for election. And that's why he's trying to make stronger his positions on the local government.
Tevan, there is a developing story that I want to get your thoughts on. Over the weekend, a number of government members, some deemed to be very close confidants of Nikol Pashinyan and civil contract, were sacked by Pashinyan. Some call it reshuffling. We call it the night of the long knives. Pashinyan confirmed that he asked them to resign, saying that his requests are not personal but systemic. And systemic definitely is what I would use to describe the number of people affected. For instance, who are they? Argishti Karamyan, chairman of the investigative committee. Sasun Khachatryan, chairman of the anti-corruption committee. Vaher Ghazaryan, his personal friend from Yerevan and the head of the Ministry of the Interior. Genel Sanosyan, Minister of Territorial Administration, as well as Ruslan Badamyan, head of the State Revenue Committee. In addition to members of government, Karen Andreasyan of the Supreme Judicial Council has also tendered his resignation. Now, it's important to note that the Supreme Judicial Council is a separate constitutional entity, and the process involves being elected to it. But it just so coincided that on the same day, within minutes or within hours of each other, Karen Andreasyan also announces his resignation. There are also reports that some members of civil contract from the parliament may put down their mandates. That's speculation at this point. This is still developing, so maybe some other people will also resign, but I want to get your take on this, Tevan. Are we seeing cracks in Pashinyan's and civil contracts iron rule in Armenia, or as the opposition is suggesting, is this positioning for new elections?
For me, none of them. Demand from Aliyev. Aliyev asking him, he need to deal with the constitution as soon as possible. In other, no documents will be signed. Nikol Pashinyan is wishing to sign something, but if he's trying to proceed with the documents of changing constitution, he need a referendum. He definitely know it wouldn't be working. Then the only other issues is remaining to go with the election and on pre-election strategy and program present that changes needed for constitution and declaring and changing declaration of independence. That is why he's trying to illustrate this point. And I think whom he sacked, first of all, we have only one criticism just one day before the government session. We didn't heard about kind of a complaints of this institution previously. In the budgetary process in the parliament, all these guys, besides of maybe Andreas and Karen, was with the government and presented their reforms and changes and so on. But I think this was just an orchestrated issues agreement. In few days, if these guys would get some positions, then it could be saying making stronger for the election. If they not getting any position, then it's again waiting for the new election. But this is, I think, just simply another manipulative situation for trying to take a bit longer time for the changes or pave the road towards this need to change two documents. Because for him, it would be better to have maybe elections in 2026. But he perfectly knows that now opposition is not ready, very weak. In the front of us is winter. It's definitely would be much difficult to make people to go to the street on protests and so on. That's why he can now orchestrate with the parliament two-time technical resignation, which is based on a way that it's very difficult to find people for the reappointment for this position and something like this. Already 2 months is they doing a very funny Hollywood videos when civil contract parties getting together their leadership and discussing a candidate for example, Ministry of Justice. Now imagine how many ministers and how many positions they need to change. At least 5. It took 1 month to find some person, and finally they found someone presented there in the parliament. Now imagine it would be 1, 2, 3 months to find all the 5 and cover. I think it will be much easier to orchestrate political crisis, and so that's maybe we need a new election. And somewhere in February, March, whenever we already ready to go, and already in his pre-election campaign, he would be talking about that declaration of independence was wrong. That's why let's change it. Constitution was wrong. Let's change it. And winning election would be much easy process than referendum, because referendum in Armenia have much stronger requirements on participation and at least minimum number of voting for, which is much difficult to reach than just simply have an election with the pre-election program, and then he would try to go like he's fulfilling this stuff. Because in reality, still, like you have been saying, democracy. Now, can in democratic country, president or prime minister fire a minister without explanation what was he doing wrong? Have you heard that any of these guys done something wrong? Like criticism, like Genel, Sanus. He has been kind of a do corrupt, he has failed on this policy. No criticism about all other positions. No real criticism. Only always say that we're doing a work, we're doing a work. And now let's see how these all guys put the wording with their resignation. We've been every day working hard. We're doing everything good. We make a lot of changes. Are they being fired because they've been doing a good job now? Or maybe Pashinyan has been demanding them to do a bad job and this guy has done a good job and that's why he fired. I don't know. It's very funny. And you said saying that we are democracy. Come on. That's why in reality, I think it has been just simply trying to artificially shows to Aliyev that you push me to the situation that I need to go for the early election and come up, see like in the election, in pre-election, my campaign program, I'm taking your point. Please give me a bit more time to come to this.
So just to clarify, he's going to try to sell the results of the election as a referendum, knowing full well that no one will participate in it, in a real referendum.
Yes, this is how I am reading his actions. Everyone is always trying to put it like he didn't take his pills, he has been drunk. No, guys. I think he's trying to calculate and do stuff, and sometimes he has a much better scenarist who helping him on this.
Yeah, Tevan, one thing though, all these people, like Hovik said, are extremely close people to Pashinyan. Removing them and replacing them, is that going to leave him weaker going forward?
So, like, if you know that you are in a difficult position, are you going to make that step? At least you will do one by one, not 5, 7 in a one day. That's why I'm saying that for me, it's a manipulative orchestration or scenario over which this guys hasn't been really fired, but much more playing same game because of this, like, for the sake of our party, for the sake of our staff. Imagine if Aliyev would come to December after COP or somewhere there and would come and start a war, occupy Syunik and all other more territories. And that's why he's trying to present it to the world and to the Armenians that this is totally different issue.
Tevan, you mentioned preparations for elections, and there's ongoing evidence that authorities are preparing for elections. Specifically, two potential legislative measures spearheaded by civil contract are drawing speculation and criticism in this case. First, there are attempts to change the Armenian constitution via parliamentary vote, not through referendum, but through parliamentary vote, to remove the so-called stable majority clause from the constitution. According to the current Armenian constitution, the party or alliance that gets the majority of votes will automatically receive a sufficient bonus number of mandates in order to give it essentially 54% of all the mandates. That's what's called the stable majority. So the council examining constitutional changes voted in favor of a proposal by the Union of Informed Citizens, Daniel Ioannisian, to remove this stable majority clause. However, the same council voted against separating the issue from the general packet of constitutional reforms, which would have allowed it to be expedited and voted on by the National Assembly ahead of the 2026 scheduled elections. Something which Ioannisian really wanted to happen, which is this an elections without stable majority. The other potentially more serious and concerning issue is a measure by civil contract to allow the cancellation or annulment of elections if martial law or state of emergency is declared. This measure has already passed the first reading, and essentially if there's a shooting on the border or there's some kind of a disturbance enough for Pashinyan to declare a state of emergency, then the elections are automatically annulled if they were in the process of being counted, and a new election will have to be held. So can you tell us about the issue with this, both cases, essentially, the stable majority issue and the cancellation of elections? What are the dangers if these measures are adopted?
This group is demanding, is dreaming, is struggling, is fighting to remain in power. That's why they're developing various scenarios, and based on that scenarios, they're trying to come up with some legislative changes. One way of, for example, if the election situation is not good, some other forces coming, Aliyev could initiate something, they would immediately declare martial law and preserve the authority. Another one is taking this stable majority to the point that even if they are not taking the big numbers, but there would be some coalitional deals needed. And maybe if the others would not be able to make a big coalition, they would do. Yerevan case. That's all. Both scenarios have one target: preserve authority.
Do you see any potential surprises?
The surprise would be only one, that Armenian nation wake up. Remember that we are Armenian. We have something national. Ararat is my mountain. Artsakh is part of my homeland. If not, they would be trying to buy someone or by money or by fear. Someone would be in a jail, repression institution would be working, and that's all. The police, you have been saying this, US is supporting police reform. For what stake?
That's our next question, Tevan. This police reform thing in general seems to be flying under the radar. But to me, this has been going on hand in hand with all these legislative changes that we are talking about. Just yesterday in an interview, Arpine Sarkisyan, who is a Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, said that as part of the proposed police reforms, the police guard will have among its responsibilities, quote, supporting the security of persons subject to special state protection, the provision of military and emergency legal regimes, as well as anti-terrorist operations. So this is actually sounding almost like something taken out of Aliyev's books, to be honest. What are the key changes? And can you say what are the goals of this so-called police reform?
First of all, let me come up with some phenomena in the nature. Who is ordering the music?
Right, absolutely.
Who is supporting this reform? Is it reform based on the Armenian budget, or there are some other countries who are paying for this?
Exactly. What is the problem that they're trying to solve with this reform?
You need to ask the ones who is financing it. If it's financed by Russia, they have their interest. If it's financed by US, which means US has an interest. That, for example, guys, I need for you to stay in this power because I hope that your government would do something good for my country. That's why they saying that, guys, what would keep you in the power? This guy is saying, guys, without police force, it wouldn't be possible to do it long. For example, if it would be good with the possibility of Ministry of Social Affairs, then you will see a social reforms. If it's much easy to keep them in power by Ministry of Defense, you will see military. But because that institution that keep these people in the power, because some other countries has their own interest here, and that interest is possible to provide ahead by the people in the government, they looking what is much supportive. If imagine there would be a situation that US tomorrow would open up this market, Armenia-US trade would not be for the last 9 months only 50 million, but would be a 5 billion. Why they need a police reform? Because the economic reform would be the best between to make support that Armenia would be saying that US is our best partner and we would go with them. The only institution that allows to keep these guys in power is police, and that's why there is always police reform.
Essentially, Pashinyan is trying to create a separate privileged class or group of people that will enjoy not only like higher salaries, not only other benefits, but also, for instance, in this new reform, previously the police were required to contribute to military activities if there was a need. But now, I believe, according to the law, that requirement of being under the control of the military is no longer there. So here's a force you can be part of that you can beat up people if you want, that you can get much higher salary, and if there's a war, you don't have to participate. Sounds like a perfect opportunity to me.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot help but think about George Orwell's Animal Farm. What animal does this remind you of?
Again, I'm telling you, whenever these reforms is taking place, the first question would be, who is paying for this? And what is the target? If you're saying and coming to the people on the street and asking, what is our number one issue? People will tell you security or economy. Police reforms, which they are trying to bring, not they're adding to the general Armenian security or to the Armenian economy. Now, I don't know who defined that need for making police so big, so well financed, and so it's meaning that there is always some hidden agenda or target. Look at this time. It's not about democracy, guys, anymore. Okay, take it out from there. Look for real interest, because if there is no real interest, I don't believe that U.S. any institution would be bringing money to Armenian, be it Armenia, be it Ukraine, be it, I don't know, Czechoslovakia, be it China, be it any other country reforms. There's always a totally different interest. That's all. And that interest is really coinciding. Today's ruling government needs keep up in the power. Police is helping. Today's some countries need this government in a power. They're ready to finance police reform. That's all.
Yeah. Tevan, on the note that there could be hidden agendas, is it too far-fetched to think that some of the proposed legislative changes and some of these police reform ideas point to a logic that underscores an effort to secure a win in future elections by a deeply unpopular government?
Definitely. Definitely. As I said, that anything, look this. Situation in Gyumri with Balasanyan, police reform, election changes. Everything is there just to make everything to keep up this part, because international community still has a promises from this government for fulfillment of their interests. Azerbaijan has its own interests, Russia has its own interests, US has its own interests. And that's why for all of them are very compromised to have this government. And that's why, because everyone is fighting to receive whatever he has been promised. And someone should deliver it. The promise is given by this government. They're asking the guys, you delivering it.
Right. Okay. Well, Tevan, let's wrap up our topics here on that note. So I'd like to ask each of you, of course, as usual, if there are some thoughts you would like to share. Tevan?
Yeah, about Artsakh. I think with whatever is going on, it's still we need to perfectly understand that if sometimes the state institutions are forgetting about their direct obligations, at least on the personal level, we need to always remind ourselves, remember, and speak with our next generations, and try to pass to them at least the honestly presenting all our failures and mistakes and ambitions for them to not fulfill. That's why my call would be like, let's on the personal level, never consider that we lost Artsakh forever. We need to educate the generations which would really fight and recover their homeland. And the second, whatever is possible and whenever is possible, raise your voice for Artsakh people's right for return, Artsakh monuments, Artsakh photos, art photos, as well as for all our Armenians who are in the prisons in Baku, to raise that issue and always search for the situation when we can create a real situation when Azerbaijan would be forcing to give these people to us and educate a proper generation.
Hovik, what's on your mind?
I'll follow what Tevan said by underscoring that we have hostages and prisoners in Azerbaijan. And yes, it's not about a sports victory that Armenians occasionally have, but it is an important part of Armenian consciousness, and it is an important part of being a political Armenian. And today I would like to make the case that we all should be political Armenians and make sure that the interests of Armenia and Artsakh are always at the forefront of our agenda. So COP29 hashtag on Twitter. Let's remember our hostages and let's fight for their return every day.
Yeah. Tweet with the hashtag COP29 and also add COPOUT29 because it's a cop-out on human rights. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll leave it there for today. Thank you, Tevan, for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
That was our Week in Review show recorded on November 18, 2024. We've been talking with Tevan Poghosyan, who is president of the International Center for Human Development. Mr. Poghosyan was an MP in the National Assembly between 2012 and 2017 from the Heritage Party. From 1997 to 1999, he served as the Nagorno-Karabakh Public Affairs Office Director in Washington, D.C. For more information on all the participants of this episode, please check out our show notes at podcasts.groong.org/episode number.